All right. So that was successful. It sat on the shelf too long, and all the safety seals fell fell off or came disconnected, whatever you want to call it. I'm starting to sound like Pelosi, aren't I? That was a little bit worse, I guess. I haven't been sleeping well. Like these kids keep me up. I just don't want to make people have to leave a hotel, or something like that, or send it safely. So I want to try to give them the benefit of the doubt. I let the manager know, and I said, "Look, I'm not complaining to the point where I want you to like put them out or anything. I want to avoid that." And I said, "I think it's just for the holiday season." And he said, "Probably so." And it's like people look normal around here. So woman just caught me looking at her, but I guess she isn't gonna like understand what I was looking at. I'm like, you look normal to me. I've been places where people aren't normal. I mean, even like people that are abnormal in places that are normal abnormal. Well, I guess that's where the deep state comes in and all the demonic stuff that they do. Now I'm hoping. All right, no, this isn't going to work. It's a no outlet. But I guess something wants me to look at these apartments here. Is that Louis Gohmert spirit up top of that roof there? It's gated, right? That's what Louis recommends. Does Louis live down the end of the street? There's another gated community. That's a gated apartment place, and the other is a gated community. The way my life works, that could be very possible. Let me see here. Okay, I see. I think there was one for rent or two. By the look at the vehicles, they can't be too expensive. Maybe that's why the vehicles don't look too expensive, because they're house poor or whatever. I'll have to get first of the year. I have to get on my VA and see if I can figure out how to tie that to that hospitalization. That's probably not in my records. Oh well. So again, we probably should start educating the public on electric bikes also. It's probably something that would make a lot of sense for them. It's probably the best way to go from zero to riding a bicycle, because you have an assist mode on these bicycles. So you're pedaling and the electric motor is told how much to assist you, usually like a 1 through 5 or a 1 through 10. So that would make a lot of sense for people, because people just don't feel like riding that bicycle right off the bat. If it was real easy, they're getting into that muscle memory, they're building the stamina, and then eventually, hopefully it would work for them. I don't know how long my car is going to last, so I'm going to be e-biking it. I don't see any fruition. Monday, I also have to figure out how to unfreeze my credit accounts to get a loan. I had to freeze them real quick. I have to go back over all of that because I did it in Oklahoma. The only thing is, I remember Chase checks coming in before I left Oklahoma, and I brought it with me. I don't think the person that helped me move took them. But again, when looking at what could have happened, I'm 98% sure that I took those, brought them to the room, ripped them up, and threw them away. It was like the last envelope they handed me before I was heading out the door were these e-checks. Or not e-checks, what are they called? Credit card checks. I prefer to use e-checks, where you actually just go on the computer and you transfer a balance that way. Wells Fargo used to do it to me all the time. They'd send me a gazillion checks. You're constantly ripping up checks. I mean, come on. That is weird. I haven't received any Wells Fargo checks. Why am I receiving Chase checks all of a sudden? I mean, these banks, who knows what they're trying to do. CIA operation is very subtle at times, but very devastating all the same. So I'm going to have to junk this vehicle. I might not get much for it because that clutch is really starting to go. I'll have to see. I'm just not putting $2,500 in it to change that clutch. Yeah, I got another couple years out of it. I can't complain. Or a year and a half or so, I guess. Without a payment, so. That kind of made a lot of things possible that wouldn't have been possible. Another Christmas. Big deal. Every day is Christmas for me. But the people here are more normal in Oklahoma and more normal in New Mexico. You don't have to seek out normal people as hard. And I'm in really a low budget place, so and I know there could be issues, and especially when the deep state gets moving in a place. But yeah, some guy, he's a nice guy, but he's drinking too much, I don't mind people drinking, but, it's just you're wrecked, beyond being able to speak to me normally. That's not cool. It's holiday season. I guess, that may be what it's about. I guess he was doing roofing work the other day. So, I don't know. But, I'll say things like quit smoking. That's the first thing to hit people with. You should quit smoking. I did. The key is to walk. You have to get your endorphins going. Walk, run, something like that. And the one guy used to run. The other guy that just got out of jail. He's from Chandler. And he's got a wife. And he's working on this, that, and the other thing. Getting his life back in order. Well, he said when he was locked up, he didn't smoke. And he'd run and exercise and everything. He says when he got out, he could run 6 miles. No problem. So I guess God sends me in to go, oh, what's stopping you now? Because again, he's returned to that house where, those demons dwell. He takes 7, or he could end up taking 7 additional, or demon 7 times as bad as the first, or 7 additional demons. Not necessarily his fault. I mean, he's been cursed since he was a child here. So that's true. The question is it external, or is it from inside the community, or how much is inside the community and how much is the outside community powering the inside, or the local community inside, etc. So the thing about the impeachment, the president's impeached. You got to be careful because people will pick up a Democratic Party talking point, and it benefits the Democratic Party for it to be spoken about, but it looks like maybe something different. So I wouldn't necessarily say the president's not impeached. The vote is what impeaches the president. Oh wait, I'm in the wrong freaking lane. The vote is what impeaches the president. Don't get confused with House rules, Senate rules, that type of thing. Go back to the Constitution and figure out that the president's impeached. So the House has to appear before the Senate. Pelosi has no say. The Senate sets the date. The managers either show up or they're not there, and they'll handle it without the managers. If they choose not to show up, that's their problem. Get the show on the road, get it finished. Pelosi's nobody in the Senate. It's now in McDonald's hands. He has to get his part on. He doesn't have time for her criminal enterprise and its activities of psychological manipulation and worse. That's it. It happens. Chop, chop, bolly, bolly, get it on the road. Pelosi wants to pick a day when she's available? Well, schedule it and that's it. Nothing requires the Senate to make it easy for the House managers. But it's pretty easy. You say, this is the day the U.S. Senate wants you Congress people to come up here and do what you're supposed to do. Peons. I mean, if you can't handle it, might need to pass it on to someone else, Nadler, Schiff, Pelosi. Do you have other people that can handle it? That can go to the Senate and say, here, we're ready. We impeached somebody. We're ready to present our case. Do you have to give it to a Republican, maybe? Are they the only ones in the House that can do anything? Can't figure out how to present it before the Senate in a timely manner that the nation requires. Lawful behavior requires. Order requires. Ethics require. You've stalled this nation enough, peons. Some wacko left-wing nutbag lawyer telling Nadler, strike your gavel quick. Unelected idiot. So that's all that has to happen. The Senate puts it all forward. And then it's over before it began. They either show up or forget about it. That's simple. The Constitution puts it directly in the Senate's hands. Once that vote was taken and the president was officially impeached, the Constitution puts it in the Senate's hands. And that's it. That's where it is. The House either shows up or by default they're gone. See, it isn't a court proceeding per se. It isn't federal court. What Schiff is trying to play is the Department of Justice deep state games and criminal activity thereof that they played while they were U.S. attorneys or assistant U.S. attorneys. It doesn't work. You know, the FBI, the CIA, they do all sorts of things to people for the deep state through this Department of Justice activity, the corrupt activity that we are speaking about in the investigation of Russiagate and everything else. The problem is they lose control at a certain point. You don't get to just sit like you're sitting on an indictment, a sealed indictment, waiting. You've impeached the president. Everybody knows we're moving forward because the Senate is ready to move forward. If you're not there, then you had a failure to appear before the Senate. Quite frankly, the Senate can have you arrested and brought before the Senate if you're not there that day. So therefore, set your date. If Nadler, Schumer, or not Schumer, what's the other guy's name? Schiff and Pelosi don't want to show up, you might want to have them arrested and brought before the Senate and explain why they impeached somebody and didn't show up. I mean, obviously the FBI isn't investigating anything because nobody's being indicted there. There's a ton of indictments that should have came down on the House within the last 3 to 4 years. So you set a date. The House has to show up. If they don't show up, send the sergeant at arms or whatever you have over there in the Senate out to arrest the managers and ask them why they didn't present their case. Why are they wasting the time of the nation? Why are they wasting the time of the Senate? It is no longer in Pelosi's hands. She has to meet the requirements of the Senate for that trial. She's nobody. Her managers either show up on the day of the trial or they get locked up for contempt of the Senate. Censure them on top of that. Well, praise God in all that you do. Praise God.